You mentioned that like you had to go find a job by working for somebody. How did like you growing up in that small town? How did like word get around who to go work for, who to not go work for, and how
Oh,
hard? Oh,
it
go ahead.
was, it didn't matter who you worked for, whoever was hiring.
But how did you find
And
out? How did you
a
find
lot
out
of
who was
times,
looking for people to work in the fields, in certain
I
fields and
don't
play?
know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just new.
just
And I used to go with, and it would be a group of people. It would be a lot of people, and like during the cotton picking times, there were people that would have trucks, pickup trucks, and the beds be enclosed.
mm-hmm.
The back would be enclosed, and then they would pick up people and take them to areas so that they knew who was hiring,
So
where
they
to
would
take
pick
you.
certain people up and take them to certain area.
Yeah, I used to go. Yeah, they pick up as many as they could pick up. They would come from the other towns and areas and take you back to wherever you were needed, and you would go and pick for those people. They would kind of like have a contract. How like the truck driver would know where, who was hiring, and he had already made the deal with the guy, that he would bring people to harvest the cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And I was other people told me that sometimes if you whoever you go pick for, sometimes they wouldn't pay you real money. They would just pay you money that's good on their land. Yeah,
no,
you had any issues with that?
no, well, I never encountered anything like that.
Okay.
Uh,
And how?
now the sharecropping was different. That now the sharecropper people had to give half of that, whatever, uh, whatever they would work the fields, okay, and
Mm,
whatever the man, the the owner of the plantation or the farm or whatever, he owned it, and you lived on it,
mm-hmm,
and then you had your house, and then you farmed the land, and
mm-hmm,
whatever was produced, you were supposed to split it, right? And
mm-hmm,
that's where the people got taken doing that, because during the year you had no money. All year long you would go. They would give you an allowance, or like you could go to the stores in the little town, and this guy would have an account for you, right? And
mm-hmm,
you could go and you could get whatever you wanted for you and your family, and they would charge it to you.
mm-hmm,
So at the end of the season, when you were supposed to get half of the whatever was produced, and the guy would get half. But when it became time for you to get your half, they would say that you didn't have any money because you had used all of yours on this credit over here. Okay,
yeah, like a credit system.
so
Yeah.
they got very little or hardly nothing from their half of the deal. You
Mm-hmm,
see?
mm-hmm,
So that's where you were taken. They were taken. They took advantage of you, but you had no choice because you had nothing.
right.
You had family. You needed flour and sugar and other foods. You needed food during the winter. You didn't have a garden, and garden, didn't grow in the winter. So you had to depend on whatever you needed to come from this credit over here. So you don't know how much. You didn't see the books. They didn't let you see how much you owed. So at the end of the time, when it was time to get your half, sometimes they would, if the guy was a good guy, say, he would give you something. But
Mm-hmm,
a lot of times they said that the guy would say, well, you owe me, so that they would take all of your profit
right.
to pay for what you had used during that year.
Right.
So, but like when we went to to go and work for the people, they paid you. It was, they had no choice but pay you. You didn't owe them anything, you
Right.
know. So,
So your auntie, she
but,
owned her own land.
no,
She just owned the house.
mm-mm. We don't own anything. Did I just say we were poor?
Well, I know you say you was poor, but I just because you said that you didn't really have to sharecrop, you didn't have to live on a plantation, so that's why
Well,
I was asking about.
the we lived on this guy's place, but he didn't care. He didn't live near us. He lived in another little town in the Delta, and
Mm,
he let us stay there because I guess prior to uh before uh you know I don't I don't know. I don't know, but maybe that land, maybe I think they might have sold that land. My uncle and his brother had a big farm. He owned a farm not far from us, and apparently they might have owned that home because my uncle built that house that we lived in. Had built that house years before maybe before I was born. When he built that house, so apparently they at one time they owned that
mm,
property and maybe they sold it because the other property that the other his brother had was so not too far from where we was, and he had 100 or more acres. So he had a big farm.
mm-hmm,
So there were some people that did have their own farm, and they were
mm,
independent, but not everybody.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking maybe that the guy that owned the place when we lived where we lived, I'm sure that maybe the brother had owned that prior to, because like I said, the uncle he built that house, so I guess they owned it at one time,
Right.
you know. Mhm. Because now, when I went to live with him, I was 3, so I don't know about the house.
You
All
know,
I know
right.
that he built it. Yeah, yeah. So know all the details about it. Yeah.
And once you started working and stuff in Memphis, what made you decide to stay in Memphis?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of liked it here.
You liked it
Memphis,
in Memphis.
Memphis was nice. And it was a nice. It was a nice little town. It was nice when I moved here. I liked Memphis.
What was the big difference from living in Memphis to living in a small town in Mississippi?
Well, there was more things to do and more people to see. uh, and the school, the transporting to and from school was interesting.
Hmm.
They provided no buses for us during my early years in high school.
Hmm.
We didn't have buses to get us, and we were miles away from the high school.
How many miles you had to walk to school?
We couldn't walk. It was too far to walk. We were miles away.
So how'd you get to school?
uh, the people would, like I told you, they have the cotton trucks with the beds enclosed.
Yeah,
Well, that's how we got to school.
you had to catch a ride.
The guys, the people that own the trucks, there were people that had automobiles and stuff. Almost everybody had automobiles with us because we didn't have, just being my grandmama, we didn't have the money to buy one. But
Hmm.
anyway, most people had automobiles. So this guy would close in his pickup, and he would pick us up in the morning and take us to school. And we had to pay, I don't know, I forgot how much it was, a very small fee a month to
Okay.
ride in his truck for him to pick us up. He would pick us all up. We'd walk up to the where he picked you up, or if you let wherever, I had to walk up to the little road where he came by and pick us up and take us to school.
And the same
By
person would pick y'all up after school?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. He was paid to pick us, to take us and bring us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And his daughter was going to school also, and so we took us all to school, as many as he could take. And
Wow.
then they did it in all in like we lived in the west part of the county, Panola County, and then there was the we went the east the west east and the west went to the same high school.
Hmm.
The north and the south, they had they had a school. It was a school, and it was one in. They went to a different school. See, the people in the south, in the north, they had a school in a little town called Como. Their high school was there, and the ones in the south went to Batesville High School. So all the children of the east and the west children came to this one high school. There was only one in the center, more or less in the center, and
Hmm.
that was Longman's Chapel. So we came from both directions to
Yeah.
that school. And then the people that came from the east, we were west, and the ones that came from the east, they had their pickups true, and it was one young lady, one of my classmates. She drove one of the trucks. They were kind of well off, and so she would bring children, and then it was another guy from that same area. He had a pickup, and he was one of the students too. But sometimes his dad would drive, and most of the time he drove, and he would bring children.
Right.
So they made it work.
Right.
Okay, they made it work. Yeah. And then when we got into maybe the 10th grade, 11th grade, might have been the 11th grade, they finally gave the county finally gave us a bus.
Okay.
So the bus would pick. We had two. We only had two. We had one for the west and one for the east.
Right.
So we had a bus, and then the other children had a bus. And by the time we got to school, the bus would be. You couldn't hardly close the doors. It would be so full.
That many kids on the bus.
Yeah, it'd
Huh?
be piled all down the aisle. Yeah, sure did. So it was not good. That part was devastating.
Getting on the
They
bus
cared,
or just
they
getting to
cared
school?
absolutely nothing about whether we got educated. But in spite of it all, we got educated. Most of us.
Why you say the school didn't care about if y'all got educated or not?
No, the state,
Why you
the
feel like
state,
the state didn't care if y'all got educated?
they didn't provide a way for us to get there.